of teachings of self-enquiry based on Sri Ramana Maharshi's Vichara Sara Sangraha. So the disciple asks the next question to Sri Ramana Maharshi. The next question is, the mind has different modifications. Mind is called Antakarna in Sanskrit. The inner instrument or Antakarna has different functions. They are called Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. Manas means reflection, Buddhi means intellect, Chitta means memory, Ahankara means ego. How do we say the destruction of the mind is possible, which can release us or give us freedom from bondage? Mind has different functions. How can the destruction of mind give us freedom? Sri Ramana Maharshi, who is divine grace incarnated, first explains the traditional view of the mind. The mind in a traditional view is subtle portion of the food we eat. The subtle portion of the food we eat. Let us say we take some food. The gross portion of the food will go to the body. Subtle portion goes to the mind, and rest of the portion gets excreted. So the mind is a product of the food. This is the teaching. Okay. So now
Body is the product of food.
Body is a product of gross food. The mind is a product of subtle food. The food in its very essence. So the mind itself has four different functions. It is like these functions are Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. Now, when the traditional texts say that mind is a product of food item, food essence of the food, it is not just speaking the food through mouth, the tongue. The food through all sense organs, or the input through all sense organs, is the helps the mind or grows the mind. What you see also becomes the essence of the mind. What you hear also becomes the essence of the mind. What you touch also becomes the essence of the mind. What you taste becomes the essence of the mind. In that way, the mind is the essence of the food, not just the food, not just the food we take through our mouth, food we take through all our sense organs. But Sri Ramana Maharshi says the mind is inert, jada, because it is an object of consciousness. Mind is available as an object in consciousness. How is that so? Even the mind performs various functions like Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. All of the functions of the mind can be considered as thoughts. Thought alone is the function of the mind. The thoughts are available in our awareness. So that's why thoughts are nothing but objects. And that's why, since thoughts are objects, mind is inert, mind is jada. The inert mind appears as though it is conscious, borrowing the consciousness from the self. How is that? When you keep a ball of iron near fire, the iron ball gets heated up. It starts emitting light. The heat and redness of the iron ball doesn't belong to the red iron ball, but it's derived from the fire. Similarly, the mind gets consciousness from the self, Chaitanya, Atma. Mind itself is not conscious, mind is inert. It appears as though mind is conscious. The mind is appearing in consciousness and it appears as though it's conscious. So where is the locus, or where is the mind coming from? Mind is appearing in consciousness. And it is of the nature, it appears as though it's conscious, even though it's inert. So this being the case, we have to separate out the inert mind from the conscious self by asking, who am I? By self-enquiry. Sri Ramana Maharshi continues. The nature, mind is of the nature of 5 elements. All the mind is nothing but inert. It's for nature of 5 elements. 5 elements are earth, water, fire, wind, and space. So these 5 elements are reflected as touch, sound, smell, taste in the mind. And the sense organs grasp these 5 grasp these 5 elements. The sense organs are in eyes. Sense organs are eyes, ears, tongue, nose, and skin. In reality, they appear to be in body, but they are all appearing in the mind. The sense organs are appearance in the mind. And where is the mind appearing? Mind is appearing in the self or the consciousness. So when the mind takes the form of all the objects of the world, mind takes. When the mind takes the form of consciousness, the Atma, it's called liberation. The self or the awareness is formless, and mind takes the form of objects. When the mind takes the form of the self, or mind merges with the self, it's called freedom. So let us understand what Sri Ramana Maharshi is teaching. So first Ramana Maharshi tells the traditional teaching. What is the traditional teaching? Traditional teaching is the mind is made up of the foodstuff or the essence of the food. So normally we think that food means what we take through the mouth. But the traditional teaching is the food means all inputs through all the senses. Okay, so that's why that traditionally people do fasting, upavasa. It's called upavasa. Upavasa means to move closer to the self. Vasa means being closer. Moving closer to the self is called upavasa. How do you move closer to the self? By depriving the food to the mind. So one way of depriving food to the mind is stop, don't eat food. Okay, so don't eat food through mouth. But the upavasa really means deprive the mind for all the five sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. The essence of these experiences is captured by the mind in the form of memory. Any experience is captured through sense organs by the mind in the form of memory. And this memory is the impression which is left. And this memory rises as a thought, a desire, and prompts us for action. And action will bring more result, more impressions, gets recorded in the mind. So Ramana Maharshi says, yes, this is the case. What traditional teaching says, the mind is the essence of footstep, is correct. But where is the mind situated? Where is the mind coming up from? The mind is an appearance in consciousness. The Chaitanyam or the self. Self is the locus or where the mind is appearing. How does the mind appear? The self is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. The self being Sat, existence, consciousness, bliss, and self being Kutastha or non-moving. There's no motion, there's no activity in the self. The mind appears as imagined activity in the self. The imagined activity you can compare. Somebody is sleeping and he has a dream. Okay, a person is sleeping in his bed and he has a dream. In the dream, there is a person projected, there is a forest, there is a city, and many things are projected, mountain, everything is projected in the dream. The dream is imagination, there's nothing there really. The dream is imagined in the person who is sleeping. The person who is sleeping in his consciousness, there's an imagination which projects the dream world and dream body. The same is the case in the waking state. The waking state, the consciousness projects a dream body and dream world. So this is an imagination. Mind is nothing but imagination in consciousness. The activity of mind is nothing but imaginations in consciousness, arising in consciousness. The mind, which has arisen like this, projects a body and the world. The mind, when we say mind, the I thought appears, it projects a body and the world. So the mind to survive, it requires a form. Mind can survive only with a form. If there is a form, it will survive. What is the form? The body is the form. Okay, mind identifies the body with the body as a form and survives. Suppose the mind is deprived of the form, body. The body form is removed from the mind through the process of self-enquiry. The mind cannot survive. Then the mind merges with the self, which is awareness, formless. Please understand, mind can survive only with the form. There is no form, mind cannot survive. Okay. What is formless is the self. So when you do the self-enquiry, the mind in the sense the I thought, when you seek this root of the I thought, then the root of the I thought is the awareness. Awareness is formless. So the mind has mistaken the self, which is awareness, with the body, form. Through self-enquiry, this can be corrected. Whenever we speak of the word I am going, I am coming, we are referring to unchanging I, which is the consciousness. But the mind confuses that unchanging I with the body, identifies with the body. So by the process of inquiring what is really I, What is the source of I? You are going back to awareness, the self. So then the mind cannot survive. This is the destruction of mind, because mind can survive only when it holds on to a form. It requires a form of the body or thought. When the mind finds its source, which is awareness, the mind dissolves in the self, Atma. So when let us look at it in other way. What is mind? Mind is nothing but thought. Mind, we said already, that mind has functions. Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. Sri Ramana Maharshi says all functions of mind is nothing but thoughts. Mind is nothing but thoughts. So what is the nature of thoughts? Thoughts are inert. Thoughts are inert. That means thoughts are not conscious.
They come from consciousness.
They come from consciousness, but they are objects in consciousness. They are imagination in consciousness. So thoughts are inert. One thought cannot know other thought. And each one thought, that is, mind can have only one thought at a time. One thought comes, it goes. Another thought comes, another, it goes. So one thought has no knowledge of other thought. One thought can exist in the mind. But we seem to have a continuity. Oh, I was thinking of this like this earlier. Since yesterday I am thinking. There are too many thoughts in my mind. All these are nothing but one thought. So now this thought appears as though it knows other thoughts. A thought seems to appears to be knowing other thoughts. Hey, I thought of this yesterday. That means yesterday I had a thought. I know that thought now. Since one thought cannot know the other thought, who is the knower? Thought is not the knower. The knower is different from the thought. Knower is the consciousness. Right? Are you understanding? So, for example, since yesterday I was thinking like this. So I was thinking like this is a thought now. The current thought does not know yesterday's thought, because thoughts are independent and they are not, each thought is inert. A thought cannot know other thought.
Every thought is a random.
Every thought is there, independent. So if I say that I was thinking of this yesterday, then thought cannot say that. The one who says this is not the thought. Because thought itself has no ability to know other thought. The knower is different from the thought. The knowing principle is different from the thought. We confuse the knowing principle with the mind.
You are saying that's a thought only, right?
Thought is
thinking about this from yesterday.
Thought is an expression here.
Yes.
One who is expressing is not a thought, is consciousness, Chaitanya, the knowing principle.
Through the thought?
Yeah. Thoughts are independent and unrelated to each other. They are connected and related to each other because of knowing principle, which is the Atma.
The knowing principle is connecting the thoughts?
Yes. Knowing principle is expressing through thoughts. Thoughts are the expressions, but it appears as though thoughts are conscious. Okay, they are not. They are objects. Look at the other way. So in any experience, there is a three aspects of experience: the knower, known, and knowledge. Knowing. The knower, known, and knowledge. The subject, object, and the experience. So these are thoughts: subject, object, and experience. The consciousness is the principle which knows the subject, object, and experience. All these three are connected because of the consciousness. The knower, known, and knowing.
The subject, object are thoughts. Even the experience is also thought.
We'll come to that. Experience is a thought. Let us take the example. I am eating an apple. The apple is a thought. Eating is an experience. I am eating is a thought. Okay. Experience is also thought. Okay. So there are three thoughts: apple, experience, and I am eating. All these three thoughts appear in consciousness. The consciousness is the knowing principle. One who knows this is the consciousness. The experiences keep changing. The subject changes. The object changes. But the knowing principle doesn't change. The Atma, the self, the consciousness. The thoughts appear and disappear in consciousness. The knowing doesn't change. Okay. So take it another way. I am eating an apple. Is there a subject and object? In the process of experience, the subject and object are connected to eating. Right? Subject is apple, subject is me, and object is apple. They are connected to eating. Eating is the experience. Okay. In a given experience, there's no experiencer and experienced anytime.
While the experience is happening.
While the experience is happening, there's no experiencer and experienced. They're connected by the experience. It can be eating, it can be drinking, it can be seeing, it can be dancing. In an activity where the experience is happening, there is no experiencer and experienced. There is experiencing is happening. Experiencing is a thought. The knowing of the experiencing is happening. The knowing is there. The knowing is a continuous activity which is always there. The knowing is the self.
Including the deep sleep.
All the time.
Okay.
So knowing is the continuous activity, background activity is helping. Experiencing is, now I'm experiencing apple, next moment I may experience a pineapple, next moment I experience a mango. Experiencing can change, but knowing is continuous. The knowing is like a background screen. Then the subject thought comes. Oh, I am eating. The experiencing is broken into three thoughts: the knowing, the subject, the object, and the experience. That's called Tripudi. Then I thought comes. Who is this I? That's a I thought. Whatever is I thought. Okay, the mind doesn't know what is I, real I. There's a subject it has to assign. It has to tell the subject. The subject is connected as body. The subject in this case, eating, is the body. So body becomes the I. And apple is a name and form. That's also taken as an object. The experiencing is taken as a thought. So object thought, subject thought, and experiencing thought, three thoughts are there. All the thoughts are appearing in consciousness.
So mind is switching the subject from awareness to the body.
Yeah. The mind is actually giving a name to that. The experience
The real
is,
subject is awareness.
yeah. Experience is given a name. Okay. I am eating. Now, who is the one who is eating? A thought cannot eat. Who is the one knowing the experience? The self, Atma, awareness. Who is the real subject? Awareness. Okay. But mind doesn't know that. It says body is the real subject. Body is the subject. The subject thought comes. Whereas the real subject is the self-awareness, the knowing principle, which is there in all the thoughts, all the time. So the mind is mistaken the real subject with another object called body. So this is called illusion, a triputi. The body is superimposed on the subject, Atma, awareness. Did you get the logic? How it happens? I'll repeat the logic, right? When I'm experiencing anything, there is no subject object duality. There's only experiencing is there, because mind can have only one thought. I am eating the apple. Only eating thought is there. There's no apple, there's no me there. There's a experience there. The experience, thought of experience there. And one who knows the thought of experience is the Atma, the awareness, the knowing principle. Right? So now the mind comes into picture. It gives a name. Oh, this is apple. Apple thought comes. And I am eating the apple. Subject thought comes. So that one experience got broken into three: subject thought, object thought, experience thought. Okay. One thought cannot know the other thought. The thoughts are objects. Thoughts, no thought can know the other thought. The one who knows all these thoughts is the knowing principle, which is the Atma. Okay. Really, the mind should have subject, said subject is the Atma. Subject is the awareness. But instead of that, it confuses body with the awareness. Okay. So this is the confusion created by the mind. In reality, the awareness alone is the background of all the thoughts. And thoughts are appearing and disappearing. They are temporary. They are not real. What is temporary is not real. What is real is the awareness which is there as the background of all the thoughts. Like a screen is there in the background of all the movies. The movies keep changing, but the screen doesn't change. The knowing principle doesn't change. So the confusion created by the mind is simple. It says knowing is because of the mind. Knowing is not because of the mind. Knowing is because of the awareness. You have to separate out the knowing principle from the mind. See, very simple. You read some subject and say, I know. You say, I know. As if the mind knows. I know is a thought. One who knows the thought is the real knower, is Atma. The knowing has to be separate from the mind. The mind appears to be knowing because of the reflection of consciousness on it. The reflection of consciousness is called Chidabhasa. In reality, the consciousness alone is the knowing principle. So the mind can only, because of the reflected consciousness, the objects are illuminated. Okay. So a thought gets illuminated because of the reflected consciousness.
Which is otherwise inert.
Otherwise inert. Thought is otherwise inert. But it gets light from the awareness. So the thought appears. Okay, I thought also appears. Then you start thinking that I thought is real I. I thought is not real I. It's inert, it's an object. Who is the subject? The knowing principle, awareness. So please separate out the knowing principle from the mind. The knowing principle is the Atma. And when you separate the knowing principle from Atma, what remains is the inert name and form. Let us apply to subject, me. So I always say me, I am eating, referring to my body. The body is inert. Body is dead matter. Okay. The consciousness animates the body, illuminates the body. So one who knows the I as the body is the real subject. But you confuse the body as the subject. The mind does this confusion. So mind does many more such confusions. One is it confuses the object with the subject with the object. Subject is the Atma, awareness. That is confused the object. It also does one more confusion. It mixes up the happiness of the mind, happiness as a, because whatever happiness you get, it confuses with the object. For example, I eat apple. I am happy that I am happy. I enjoy eating an apple. So what happens is that when you eat the apple touches your tongue, the mind stops. There's no thought. When there's no thought, the bliss of the self, Atma, is reflected in the mind. And mind says the happiness because of the apple. So the mind is creating a the confusion created by the mind. The subject is confused with the object. The happiness is confused. Bliss of the self is confused with the object, external object. So this confusion can be removed by asking, who am I? Who is the real subject? The whole point of asking the question, who am I, is who am I? Who is the real subject? Who is the knowing principle? Knowing principle is not the mind. And then what remains is pure consciousness. Now, please understand that the mind is also appearing in consciousness. The mind also appears in consciousness. That's why it's made up of consciousness. The essence of the mind is consciousness. Like a gold ornament, the ornament which is made up of gold is essence of that is gold only. Wave is nothing but water only. Like that, mind is nothing but consciousness only. Essence of mind is consciousness only. Okay. The form of the mind, which is the form of the mind in the form of objects of the world, is just an appearance, imagination. What is there is nothing but consciousness only. Let us take the example of a necklace. Is there something called necklace if you remove the gold from that? Necklace is the form of gold. So from the object, if you remove the consciousness part, there is no object. There's only consciousness. From the object is nothing but a name and form. An apple is name, form, and taste. Function. If you remove the consciousness from that, there's no apple. It's all unreal. The essence of the mind is consciousness. So if you inquire into the nature of the mind, you find that essence of the mind is consciousness, then there's no mind, there's no name and form. No name and form are mithya, unreal. Mind appears to be real because it's taking form of the objects, the name and form. Thoughts appear to be real. Correct? Thoughts are nothing but name and form. What is a thought? A thought is, this is an orange. Orange has a name, orange is a form, a thought. Correct? So the thought has two components, the name and form and the knowing principle, consciousness. It is mixed up. So look at the knowing principle. That means take your attention to the knowing principle. Then what remains is name and form. The name and form cannot exist without the consciousness associated with that. So the name and form is mithya, unreal. A necklace cannot exist if you remove the gold from it. So the mind cannot exist in the form of thought when the consciousness is removed from it, or consciousness is such need.
So it's like if you remove the water, wave disappears. There won't be.
If you remove the water, there's no wave. Right? So that's why Ramana Maharshi says, if you inquire into the nature of the mind, essence of the mind is consciousness, Chaitanya. And when you inquire into the mind, essence of the mind, which is Chaitanyam, the name and form are irrelevant. They don't exist. They are mithya. So the mind is not there. Mind dissolves. There's no mind now. All our trouble in life is thoughts, continuous thoughts we have. Okay, thought after thought comes, and we take the thought to be real. Thoughts and objects, we take it as real. And we start going after them. We think that happiness is then the object. We think that consciousness there in the thought. This is an illusion. So for stopping the thoughts, we do a lot of practices, breathing practice, pranayama, meditation, or try to forget the thoughts by going for a movie or drinking alcohol. We are trying to stop the thoughts at the effect level, which is the thought level. The thoughts gets destroyed or the mind gets destroyed when you see the essence of the thought. Essence of the thought is consciousness. So don't have to stop the thoughts. Look at the essence of the thoughts, which is consciousness. Then the mind, you'll become free from the mind. You'll attain no mind state. So the mind or the I thought takes all the forms. I thought is the imagination in the consciousness. I thought takes all the form. It takes the thought of the form of the body and it takes the form of the world. The mind itself is the body and mind itself is the world. The world and the body are nothing but thoughts in the mind. Other way. In other words, things are nothing but thoughts. Okay. Thought is not real because thought is nothing but a name and form. Name and form has no reality, only essence has reality. The name and form of necklace has no reality. Look at the essence of necklace, which is gold. When you look at the gold, separate out the form from the essence. The form cannot exist. Separate out the mind, which is nothing but thoughts, from its essence, which is consciousness. Then the mind doesn't appear, mind disappears. And dissolution of the mind is called liberation. Mukti.
So you're saying shift your focus from the object to the consciousness, knowing principle.
The essence of self-enquiry is shift your attention from the object to the subject, the real subject.
Yeah.
From the name and form to the formless essence, Atma.
The object loses its value.
Object doesn't exist. Object doesn't exist when the wave doesn't exist when water is removed from that. The necklace doesn't exist when gold is removed from that. So shift your attention from the object to the subject, from drashya to drak, from the seen to the seer. Now the seen object has no independent existence. Drishyam or the seen depends on the seer. Okay. For example, I am looking at this apple. If my eyes are colorblind, I cannot see I will see only black color. So the color of the apple, the taste of the apple, the smell of the apple depends on me, the subject. Right? The subject, is in essence the consciousness, the knowing principle. Okay? The object has no independent existence at all. So shift the attention to the knowing principle, then the mind disappears. Mind, you attain no mind state. This is the essence of self-enquiry as taught by Sri Ramana Maharshi. The trace the who I thought, the self, the I thought is indicating the self. The I thought is really indicating the awareness the consciousness principle, which is knowing principle, which is always there. That's why whenever you speak of I am, always you are referring to a unchanged I am. I was there in Mysore. I was born 30 years back. I am here now. The I is not changing. That unchanging I is awareness. Shift your attention to the unchanging I. That is the freedom. Then there's a dissolution of the mind or manonasha. The essence of spiritual inquiry, the essence of all spiritual teaching says ego has to be destroyed. They don't tell how to destroy the ego. Sri Ramana Maharshi tells, destroy the ego or I thought by looking at the source of the I thought. The source of the I thought is the consciousness. I thought is just a name and form given to the consciousness, body. Okay. Let me take another example. If the apple is there because I am able to see it. Right? My eyes are giving a shape to the apple. If my eyes are colorblind, apple is black. My eyes are X-ray vision, I cannot see the apple. Okay, depending on my vision, the apple name and shape is there. So that means, is there something called object called apple, or my eyes are giving a shape to that? My perception is giving a shape to that. Right? What I am perceiving depends on the perceiver. Who perceiver depends on the consciousness, Chaitanya. So go back from the object to the perceiver, which is the subject, to the real subject, which is the consciousness. So in the process, the world disappears. The body mind is not there. They are unreal, mithya. Only reality is the Atma. Okay. So let us spend some time in meditation. Sit silently. Close your eyes. In any experience, there are three aspects: the knower, the known, and knowing. The object, the subject, and the experience. When I am experiencing something, the subject and object are not there, only experience is there, because mind can have only one thought. I am the knowing principle of the thought. I am the knower of the thought. Awareness, I am awareness, sakshi of the thought, of the experience. Experience keeps changing. I may eat apple, I may eat mango. Different experience is there. Different experiences are there because the body changes, the mind changes. But the knowing principle is one and the same. I am the knower of all the experiences. I am the knowing principle. I am the witness of all the experiences. Only witness doesn't change. While experiencing anything, only thought of experience is there. It is a nameless experience. Then the mind gives the name to the experience. It splits the experience into object thought, the subject thought, and experience. I am eating mango. There are three thoughts: mango, I am, and eating. The mango is object thought. Object thought appears in consciousness and disappears. I am thought appears in consciousness and disappears. Eating thought appears in consciousness and disappears. The consciousness is the knowing principle for all the thoughts. Consciousness is the essence of all the thoughts. Awareness is essence of all the thoughts and all the experiences. Experiences keep changing, but the knowing principle does not change. I am that knowing principle which doesn't go undergo any change. What does not change is the reality. Satyam. I am that Satyam. I am that Sat existence which does not change. I am that Chit consciousness, awareness, knowing principle which does not change. I am Anandam or blissful because changes do not affect me, the time and space. I am that eternal Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss principle, awareness. Awareness is Brahman, Pradnanam Brahma. Become aware of the witness. Shift your attention from the object to the subject, to the real, from subject to real subject, I principle, by asking question, who am I? Who am I is a non-verbal question. Shift the attention from the object to the subject to the witness. Stay as witness. Abide in the self. I am the witness. I am the pure awareness. The body, mind, and world depend on pure awareness for existence. I am the independent reality. I am thoughtless and formless. Gently bring your awareness to the body. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Rub your hands and give arm to your eyes. Gently open your eyes. So, anybody has a question? One minute. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody has any questions?
Prabhuji, namaskara.
Namaskara, Vachi.
Prabhuji said mind survives on the form which is the thoughts and
Yeah.
objects.
Right.
And going to the source is Maranasha.
Maranasha, yeah.
But is that going to the source, is it a practice that we have to do like what we did now, or is it?
Yeah, it is. It is not one time, because mind, there's a habit pattern in mind. It'll keep coming up.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
the one time you do is jnana. You understood the nature. So,
it is understanding.
yeah. So once you do it, you have to keep repeatedly doing it until the mind dissolves, because mind will come back because of the habit patterns.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
But the process is this much only. So did I make it clear what is the process? Is that
to the understanding that the mind is an appearance in consciousness.
Mind is appearance consciousness. If you ignore the appearance, there's only consciousness.
Okay. That understanding must be there. Repeatedly, I must go back to that understanding till it gets established.
That's all is Atma Dana, that's all is Mukti.
Okay.
Right? You have to do it repeatedly because of habit pattern, we fall back. Vasana samskara. But did I make the process clear? Was there any confusion or is it clear?
No. Process is clear.
Okay.
I would trying to clarify. Is it a practice? But it is a practice till it gets established.
Yeah. It's a practice until it gets established. Till it is established, you are Atmanishta. That means you don't fall back. It is as good as learning is cycling. Initially you'll fall. After that, sometime you'll cycle.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, yeah. Anybody else has any question? Pranam Sheetal.
This is today. It's a very beautiful process, Gurudeva. I mean, I felt instantly today. You know, as you were saying, that sleep-like state, but not falling back to sleep. Yeah. Today, you know, it came to little bit of I can say that. And once you're saying that it's a daily practice, when we are learning cycling, we do it every day, and that is what we have to do. Like we cannot wait for thoughts to come and we getting stuck into duality and again coming back. No, that cannot be done. So this is a regular and repeated practice, irrespective of falling, the thoughts falling into the duality or not.
Yes, you keep doing it and one day it just dissolves.
Yes, Gurudeva.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you, Gurudeva.
Okay, but the process is this much only. Have I made the process clear? Yes. Is the understanding clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Gurudeva. It's very, very nice. It's very beautiful.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, Pratibha? Pratibha, ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
No, Magirish.
Yes, anybody else? Uma Girish wanted to say something?
Namaste, Gurudev.
Namaste, Uma.
Yesterday I was able to stay at that state, self, but today disturbance is more.
Okay.
Because of thoughts, why it happens, Gurudev? One day.
No, the disturbance are more. Your attention is going to the disturbance. Your attention has to go to who has the disturbance. Right? We take the form as reality. Form is not reality. All right. So that's why you have to catch hold of who has the disturbance.
Okay.
All right. The one who has the disturbance has no disturbance.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು.
Okay. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಾಯ್ತಾ? Okay.
ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿ.
Clear ಆಗಿತ್ತಾ?
ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್.
Okay. So shall we close for the day? Namaste. ಸಂಜೆ ಆತ್ಮವಿಚಾರ ಇರುತ್ತದೆ. ಆತ್ಮವಿಚಾರ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನ್ 4:30 to 5:30. ಹರಿ ಓಂ. ಬಾಯ್.
Pranam, Gurudeva.
Pranam.
Thank you.